Hi guys, today we're going to be doing a different type of video. We're going to look at what happens when someone wrongs you and the best way to react to it. Okay, so a couple weeks ago I was doing a website for my book, The Dictionary of Indian Palmistry Symbols, and I came across a Portuguese website that looked like they'd ripped entire sections out of my book. Okay, so to tell you a little bit about these guys, she's an American psychic, palmist, astrologer, and she makes videos in Portuguese and in English and puts those videos on YouTube. So I did a quick Google search for it and then did a Google Translate on their website, and yes, it looked like they actually had ripped big sections of the book right out. What got me really suspicious was that the pictures they used looked exactly like the pictures that I'd hand drawn. And what really annoyed me with all of this was that they'd put their own copyright onto my content. And it wasn't just 1 or 2 videos, I'd actually made 3 or 4 of them all together and put up about 1/8 of my book online through their own videos translated into Portuguese. Okay, so to give you guys an idea of exactly how bad this plagiarism did get, I've put out a little excerpt from my book and also a little excerpt from the Google translation of her website. So this is a section for the fish that she ripped off. And I'm just going to read through my section of the book and you can see how it's pretty much identical to what she's got on her website. The only variance you will find though is a little bit from Google Translation's algorithm here. So this is, for example, the one for the fish. So notice the format that I used: the name, the symbolic meaning, the palmistry meaning, locational variants, and things along those lines there. So the symbolic meaning here: prosperity and growth. The Matsya avatar of Vishnu is the most prominent story of a fish in Hindu mythology. The palmistry meaning is wealth and abundance. And then in the locational variants, at the base of the Rahu and Ketu triangles, many orthodox Indian palmistry schools hold that this is the only place that the fish should appear in order to hold its meaning. I disagree, as I have seen this in many other places with similar results. Ketu, not touching Rahu. It amplifies the general results. It also gives memories of past lives. Moon, strong intuitive ability that gives the general results. Okay, so then she skips over the area where I list other signs that this sign can be confused with, and that's probably because she didn't sort of rip off the entire book, only like 1/8 of it. And she also skipped over the section where I list often found with. So these are the signs that this symbol is often found with. In this case, it's a flag. She did rip off the deity section, which is Matsya or Ketu, and these are Hindu gods that are associated with this symbol, and the only way you can really know that particular piece of information is unless you've done all the research that I have. There's no mention of either of these 2 gods associated with this particular symbol in any of the ancient texts. It literally took me years of research to get that particular bit of information. And then the next section, the rarity. On the Rahu and Ketu triangles, often connected to the lifeline, it's rare 1 to 100. In Ketu, it's rare 1 to 100. And on the major lines ending on a mount, very rare 1 to 1,000. And elsewhere, exceptionally rare 1 to 10,000. So you can see over here, even the numbers, which in my book I listed were estimates, she's pretty much copied my exact estimates off word for word. So I got suspicious and I flagged this video with YouTube. And for those of you who don't know, YouTube has a feature where if there's a video that violates some sort of law in some sense, like copyright, or if it has like hate speech or something else nasty like that, then YouTube will take that video off until they investigate it. And what's strange is that they actually said that they got the contents for their material out of the Samudrika Shastra, which is an ancient Indian text on palmistry. Now here's the rub: the Samudrika Shastra doesn't actually talk about these symbols, and it certainly doesn't give these pictures like the ones that I'd drawn. Those came out of lots of years of hard work and research that I'd got from other sources, and they certainly don't use the format that I used in my book that these guys had copied. So we went through a legal process with YouTube where I showed them my book and I said like this is where they'd copied different passages out from, and YouTube actually did take the video down. In the meantime, I sent these guys a message saying, what's going on? Why have you used my book? And what's worse, why have you put your own copyright on top of it? And their response to my query was basically that no one actually owns this ancient material. It should be available for everyone. To which I say, no, you can't copy someone else's material word for word, put your own copyright on top of it, then say that original person's copyright is invalid. And the other thing is that if you do copy someone, well, at least acknowledge the work that they put into it, or at least send a reference to them. And if you're not going to do that, well, at the very least take the effort to reword the work so that it becomes your own. So when I called her on that, her next line of defense was that this information is freely available online. And therefore, she didn't violate my copyright. She took what was online for free and then just used that in her video. To which I say, actually, no, it wasn't. That's the whole reason I wrote the book, because there wasn't one place to catalog all these ancient palmistry symbols. It took me years of research to catalog it and put it all together. If it was online, I wouldn't have written the book in the first place. And so when I called her on that one, her next line of defense was that she'd translated my English work into Portuguese and therefore it doesn't violate copyright. The copyright laws have a clause in it for derivative works, and what that means is you can't take someone's work in English, translate it into another language, and then say it's your own. So say for example that she took the script for like Star Wars, for example, translated it into Portuguese. Well, she wouldn't own Star Wars in Portuguese, she would have just ripped off someone else's copyright. That's what a derivative work is. So you can't take something in one language, put it into another and expect it to be your own. Her next line of defense after I called her on that was to say that everything that she used was eligible under fair use. Now, fair use is a clause within the copyright structure here that says that you can use someone else's material, but you have to A, acknowledge its source, and you can't just take the whole thing and claim it as your own. You also have to provide some sort of commentary on it, which she clearly didn't do. So after going through a couple layers of BS with her excuses, she actually threatened me. She said that she would sue me for defamation. And so that's why I decided to escalate the matter with YouTube. The next day, I got a whole bunch of dislikes on my channel. Someone with 11 different accounts in America actually went through my channel on every single video and left a whole bunch of dislikes on it. This type of harassment actually has its own name. It's called dislike spam. And apparently it's so common that there's nothing YouTube can do about it because it doesn't actually violate any laws. Now, I can't actually prove that it was her that did it, but I just think the timing's too much of a coincidence here. Now, YouTube did take down a video, but there's a provision under the law that says if you file an affidavit or swear under penalty of perjury that all the content that was taken off was originally yours and that was taken off by like a mistake or misunderstanding or something, then they'll actually put it back online for you. And that's what she did. She apparently electronically affirmed under penalty of perjury that all the content was originally hers and that it was misidentified and taken down as a mistake. As a result of which, YouTube put everything back online. Now let me just explain YouTube's position. They don't want to be getting into legal arguments with people, they just want to be providing video. So I don't fault them for like not clamping down harder on this. I just think that if someone's willing to abuse the system, then they'll abuse it. So YouTube basically told me that if I wanted to take things further and protect my own copyright, that I'd have to go through court. Problem with that is that it's expensive and it's also a waste of time and energy. What's more is that I'm going to need a lawyer to pursue this matter because these guys are an American group, and for some strange reason if someone overseas violates your copyright, then you've got to go to their country to fight them to get the whole matter resolved. And being an Australian, that becomes cost prohibitive and also logistically prohibitive as well. So this is a gaping big hole in YouTube's copyright infringement policy. They know that there are people out there that are abusing it, but that they leave it to the courts to decide. And people outside your country can't really stand a fair chance of defending themselves. So the question is, what do you do? If this happened to me 10 or 15 years ago, I would have hired a lawyer and I would have gone after them. No questions about it. But now I'm sort of a little more chilled about the whole situation. My whole take on it all is, the reason I wrote the book was to actually get the message of palmistry out there. And if these guys want to help me do that, then that's great. But I just don't like the fact that they've put their own copyright onto my work. That just didn't feel right, so that's why I actually got YouTube involved in the first place. Now, just some context, in order to actually write a book, it took me maybe about 1,000 hours out of my life, and that's not an exaggeration, that's literally how long it takes to write a book. And that's time that I'm not spending with my wife or with my kids or any of my other family and friends. That's just based on writing the book, editing it, sending it to the publisher, then re-editing it and going through that whole process. And so the time it'll take me to pursue things legally is the time I'm not using to write my next book or to make more videos for you guys. Because ultimately my goal is to spread the message of palmistry here, not to get caught up in legal battles or issues here, even if the other guys seemingly are trying to egg me on towards it. But in the background we are going to pursue things legally. I've got a good lawyer in America I've just found, and we'll just see how that goes, and I'll keep you guys posted on the progress with that one too. But ultimately, karma comes back to bite everyone. If you write a book to spread a message out to other people, then karma will reward you. And on the other hand, if you copy someone else's work and then plagiarize it, then karma will come back to get those guys too. And so this is my experience in dealing with YouTube's copyright infringement policy. I think there's a huge gaping big hole within the middle of it. It just doesn't work, and it's not effective, especially against people who are actively willing to abuse it. But that said, I still love YouTube, and I'm still going to be using this platform and my time and energy to make videos to send the message out to you guys about palmistry. I'll also be writing more books in the future to spread that message as well. Alright guys, that's my musings on dealing with people like Portal do Auto con Hesimento. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Thank you.